Do you enjoy bathing in the blood of your enemies? Taking their corpse, ripping out their bones, constructing it into an army in front of you? Or perhaps mending bones together to bring a golem through? Then the Necromancer is for you. Hello everyone, my name is Rusty Pilover, Ginger streamer, professional high-pitched screamer, entertainer extraordinaire, and welcome to the 5 potential builds for the Necromancer. I'm pretty excited about this one because I believe there are a lot of Necromancer players out there, and again, just to clarify, these are theory crafting builds. We will be deep diving into them, but before we start, check out the link for the Diablo 4 builder. It's right in the description and in the pinned comments, as well as the Necromancer skills that we are going to go through today to help you theory craft your Necromancer. And with these 5 potential builds, I'm pretty sure you're going to go on the battlefield and just absolutely bring death and destruction to the world of Sanctuary. The Necromancer came all the way from Diablo 2, sporting a variety of skills, and was probably one of the more popular classes that Blizzard had produced. Then in Diablo 3 it came through as a DLC where a lot of people had compared the Witch Doctor to the Necromancer, and thus Blizzard said, okay, we're gonna bring back the Necromancer, just please don't hurt us. And then all the way back into Diablo 4 the Necromancer was revealed. So let's take a look at the Necromancer skill set. Now we're not going to go through a little bit of skills this time because the Necromancer works quite a bit differently than most of the other classes. Necromancers have 4 high-level playstyles: Bone, Darkness, Blood, and the Army. Among their spells are debuff skills called Curses, with Decrepify and Iron Maiden returning. Scythes are class-specific items for Necromancers, and sword, daggers, wands, focuses, and shields can also be equipped. The Necromancer utilizes 2 resources: Essence, a slow regenerating resource that is also gained by using basic skills, and Corpses, which come from fallen enemies or can be generated by certain effects. Bone, a classic direct offense and enemy detaining skills. The new iteration of Bone skills are supplemented by effects such as Critical Strike and benefit from a large essence pool. The battlefield can be divided with Bone Prison to either restrict enemies into certain areas or enclose them in a narrow space to facilitate area of effect skills. Bone Spirit is a foe-seeking missile that explodes on impact but has a cooldown and consumes all essence, though with the benefit of its firepower increased per point of essence spent. Darkness skills are a new addition to the Necromancer, seemingly a reinterpretation of poison, decay, curses, consolidated into the shadow magic category. Offensively, they either deal damage over time or multiple times in a short window. Also, these skills tend to induce buffs and crowd control effects. Decompose is a basic channel darkness skill that deals damage over time while channeled, grants essence in the process, and periodically summons corpses that can be used to summon skeletons. Somewhere along the line someone's grammar disappeared. Blood skills are expressed differently from their predecessors, but they retain the ability to heal. These skills benefit from a large life pool, and their usage proficiency is dependent on targeting multiple enemies. Thus, character positioning is critical to maximize these skills' effects. For example, Blood Surge's explosion increases based on the number of enemies from which blood has been siphoned. Blood Mist is a survival-oriented movement skill that makes the caster immune to damage, drains life of enemies around the Necromancer, and grants mobility for retreat or a better vantage point. The Army skills deal with reanimated foes and golems. Skeletal warriors and mages are summoned by the raised skeleton skill, an extra skill on the skill bar, though each require a corpse to be summoned. By design, the Army playstyle attempts to address the problem of past games where minion builds require heavy minion investment or maintenance, often making certain skills mandatory and excluding most from use. The new system averts this problem and enables and encourages skill flexibility between minion and non-minion skills. Therefore, a player can pursue a bone, darkness, or blood playstyle and integrate this with the army skill, which acts as a separate layer that doesn't override and may synergize with the chosen playstyle. Now, not only does the Necromancer have 4 particular playstyles that you can invest in, which we will explore just now in our 5 builds, but they also have a very different, unique class mechanic, which is Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead is a unique Necromancer-specific skill mechanic that allows the player to customize their Necromancer's minions, how minions are deployed, which minions the player can have, and how they behave. The core skills center on 3 summons: skeleton warriors and mages, and a golem. Each summon has 3 variants to choose from, and each variant has 3 modifications: 2 upgrades, of which 1 may be active at a time, and sacrifice, which disables summoning that minion in exchange for conferring a permanent buff to the Necromancer. The player may choose a minionless playstyle by setting skeletal warriors, skeletal mages, and golems to sacrifice, buffing the Necromancer directly. Which buff the class receives depends on which summon variant is sacrificed. For example, a sacrificed blood golem grants 10% increase to the character's maximum life, while a sacrificed iron golem grants 30% critical strike damage. And as we look here under the skeletal warriors, fast attacking skirmishers have an increase. Fast attacking skirmishers, which have increased damage but reduced life. Sword and board defenders, which have bonus life. Scythe wielding reapers, which have a slower attack, deals AoE damage in front of them, and have a wind-up attack that deals a high amount of damage. Skeletal mages have shadow, cold, and bone sacrificial magics. And golems, you got the tanking bone golem, health stealing blood golems, charging iron golems. Necromancer has got a multitude of playstyles, and pinpointing 5 particular builds for the Necromancer is going to be difficult because the way the Necromancer is meant to be played is a multitude of different styles. So it really is up to you, and I would like to know from these skills, how are you going to build your Necromancer? What is sounding like the tastiest build for your Necromancer? Now we get to the 5 potential builds, and we're going to start off with number 1, the Summoner build. Obviously, this is the go-to for a lot of new Necromancer players, where you summon a bunch of skeletal mages, skeletal warriors, and golems to fight for you while you stand back and laugh at your enemies. The Summoner build is one of the oldest builds as well for the Necromancer, which utilizes obviously having a lot of corpses around, so you can continuously spam out making golems, making skeletal warriors and mages to benefit you. And what I like about this is you have different types of skeletal warriors, skeletal mages, and golems that really suit your type of playstyle. You can have a blood golem that continuously saps life, which does make it quite tanky if you think about it, but if you really want the tank, you can go with a bone golem and have all of these different types of summons really at your beck and call. And it's obviously fun to stand around, look at your summons, do their work, and the fact that you can customize these particular summons, it's really going to make the Summoner build absolutely gorgeous. Are you going to be a summoner? Are you going to stand back and let your minions do the work? Let me know. Number 2, Blood and Guts. Now we're going to take a little bit of a different approach and go under the blood tree and really utilize what the Necromancer will be able to do. Based on what they said is, the more the Necromancer uses the blood, the more life draining it is if you are standing in between enemies. So this is really if you want to maybe do a sword and board playstyle. Even though the Necromancer doesn't use swords, he could use a dagger, a wand, and a shield. This is kind of harkening back to the Rhine shield days from Diablo 2, but it's nice to see that Necromancer can go back to that type of playstyle. So you could, in theory, sacrifice some of your summons and really make yourself maybe a tanky Necromancer with the blood build, being able to siphon blood, maybe push through with the blood wave. We've all seen the blood wave. As far as I understand, the more enemies that hits, the more explosion damage that you can do, because that does work together in conjunction, the better the Bloodmancer style will be playing. So are you going to be playing the Blood and Guts build? Are you going to really utilize the blood of your enemies to your advantage? Number 3, the Bonemancer. I have not seen if teeth have returned from the classic Diablo 2, but I don't believe it has. But the Bone Mancer, again, harkens back to the days of Bone Spear and all of the types of bone builds that the Necromancer had available. This is really to utilize the bone type of defensive build in an offensive way as well. Bone armor was obviously a really, really good skill that helped you tank up a lot of damage while utilizing things like Bone Spear. The fact that you've now got like Bone Prison that can restrict enemies, which was obviously from Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 days, but Bone Prison is obviously one of those beautiful skills that never really goes away. And then you've got Bone Spirit and things like that. So really utilizing the bone tree, and I want to know what in the Bone Mancer tree is really speaking to you, is going to make you feel that the Bone Mancer is the build for you. Number 4, the Darkness Consumes. Now we spoke about the Darkness, which is really a mission mash of things that you can do with the Necromancer in terms of poison, decay, curses, and all kinds of things mixed into one particular thing called shadow magic. And we call it the Darkness Consumes because this is really one of those buffed up Necromancers with crowd control. With the Darkness build and being able to do crowd control, you might find yourself being able to stand quite a bit of distance away, maybe apply some bone armor just to make sure that you don't get hit too hard, and stand there and channel this decomposing type of Necromancer to allow you to deal with multiple enemies and really dictate how you want the battlefield to be done. Not only just with shadow magic and curses, but with poison and decay and things like that. So it really does sound like this is your Necromancer that is your damage over time. Number 5, the buffed one. The buffed one allows you to really utilize the Book of the Dead tree of the Necromancer. You know, you can sacrifice iron golems, blood golems, skeleton mages, skeleton warriors to buff up your Necromancer permanently to allow you to try different builds. And this is really where those fighting Necromancers and multi-spec Necromancers come in, where you could do a buffed playthrough, sacrifice all of your minions, buff up your Necromancer, and possibly go into like a Bloodmancer build or a Blood and Guts build, things like that that allow you to do those kind of things. I said Bloodmancer, I meant Bone Mancer. You know, you got to get it right the first time. The buff tree really allows you to explore the different kind of options that your minions can give you based on the different type of minion that they are. And this could allow you to utilize a different perspective of the Necromancer, not so much having summons doing your work, but allowing them to buff you and you going in there, you know, with your scythe and absolutely being the Grim Reaper of the battlefield. Is this your type of build? Let me know. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please consider leaving a like, possibly subscribing, and if you haven't checked out my previous video on the sorceress, she's right over there. Please go give it a look. The links are down below in the description as well as in the pinned comment. Please go check out the Diablo 4 Builder, where you can get a little bit of insight as to how you want to build your Necromancer, as well as go check out the wiki where all the skills are given to you. And let me know in the comment section, how is your build for the Necromancer going to look? Are you going to be that Bone Mancer? Are you going to be a Summon Mancer? Are you going to be a Blood Mancer? Let me know your particular playstyle. Look out for the next video where we will be deep diving into these 5 theoretical builds, where we will start with the Barbarian, and I think we will do 1 build per character each week, and I think it's going to be absolutely great. We can sit deep dive on the skills, really try and utilize the best way to build those particular 5 theoretical builds. And if you have another build, let me know, then we can discuss that. Until then, Sanctuary awaits.